So thank you for joining us. I just want to start off. How's it going? How are things in DC?
It's really exciting. It's a lot. I got on the two committees that I wanted to get on, which is transportation and infrastructure, and also natural resources, as the 4th congressional district is 250 miles of the Oregon coast, from Lincoln County down to the California border at Curry County, and is 85% forest land. Natural resources is important, and then to carry on the great work that Peter DeFazio did on investing in transportation and infrastructure and making sure that we have those investments that came from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act coming back here to Oregon.
I was going to say you're carrying on DeFazio's legacy by being on the infrastructure committee.
Yeah.
But I guess, how's the transition been to DC? You know, anything that kind of took you by surprise when you got out to the nation's capital?
What really took me by surprise, other than a few loud people, I've been able to connect with, first of all, we have an amazing freshman class on the Democratic side. They're just bright, energetic, very supportive, but people have been incredibly supportive, Democrats and Republicans, and I've started to build up working relationships with people, and I guess I didn't quite expect that, because what you see in Washington, the news coverage in Washington, D.C. is that nobody gets along and it's just a terrible environment. But what I have found is I've found the people that I can work with, both Democrats and Republicans, and I'm looking forward to being able to do some really great things for this district.
Well, that's great to hear. And the Oregon delegation, I mean, you got an extra member on this delegation now. How's it been working with everyone that's representing Oregon right now?
So I've known Earl Blumenauer, Suzanne Bonamici for a very long time. My daughter met her husband on Suzanne's special election campaign. I've known Andrea Salinas for a long time, since she was in the legislature and working in the legislature before that. Cliff Bentz and I are on the Natural Resource Committee together, so we've talked about some things that we can work together on. And then Lori DeReamer is on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. As you know, my main priority is, I have many things that I want to do. My main priority is making sure we get the funding and support for the Coos Bay Container Port project, and we are unified as an Oregon delegation and the delegation from Northern California and Washington to get this port done, and I'm excited to be able to work on that.
Yeah, I'll ask you more questions about that in just a moment, but I just want to switch over to your new district, District 4, newly redrawn like so many districts here in the state of Oregon. I just want to know, it's very diverse. You got Douglas County, you got the coast, you got Eugene. How are you building relationships with all constituents, no matter their political views here in District 4?
So I'm lucky in that I was a statewide elected official, and as labor commissioner, I worked on workforce issues, helping people get wages when they were stolen, working with businesses, small businesses, to make sure they had access and understanding of what the laws were, and supporting them in building up their workforce needs. So I had a lot of these relationships, and I worked very well with people, whether it was in Curry, Coos, and Douglas County, which are more conservative, or Lane, Lincoln, and Benton County. And the district I represented in the legislature was West Eugene, some very progressive parts, a lot of blue-collar people who really just wanted to have good jobs and good schools, and then Junction City, which is very conservative. So this district almost mirrors my House district, and I worked really hard in the conservative parts of my district and the progressive parts of my district to make sure that I was representing the community. And what I found, and again, Peter DeFazio also did this very well, is that if you fight for people and you do good constituent work and meet them where they are, it doesn't matter what party they're in. So I've been traveling the district and working to make new relationships, but I have worked with a lot of these people for a very long time.
Yeah, and your district also has two prominent universities, Oregon State University, which we're at right now, and the University of Oregon. Higher education, how are you fighting for funding for higher education here in Oregon, specifically with the universities within your district?
So it's the universities and the community college system that work in very interconnected ways. For a lot of people, this is the lowest income district in the state, and there are a lot of people who see higher education as very daunting because you have to take on a lot of debt if you don't come from a lot of money or you don't have a scholarship. So we were just talking with the university, with Oregon State's president about how we can increase funding. The Pell Grant, which is a grant for students that are lower income. I was a Pell Grant student when I went to community college. I'm going to advocate to double that Pell Grant so it covers more things. Also make sure, like right here at Oregon State, this is sort of a wave energy research center. And so they work a lot with the federal government and places all throughout the country and the world on the research they're doing. So if we can get grants to come back to Oregon State, which is a land grant school, or to the University of Oregon, it really benefits not just the 4th Congressional District, but the entire country and world. They're doing groundbreaking work here in engineering, in earth science, and wave and water technology, and preparing us for what we know is going to happen, which is a tsunami or earthquakes. So we want to make sure that we're resilient, and Oregon State really is at the forefront of studying how we can become more resilient, specifically on the coast.
I was going to say, just looking around this room, you see all these national universities, even I think a university from Japan, you could just see the influence just this one university has across the country.
These are all the universities that Oregon State works with in these programs, and I'm very proud to be able to represent Oregon State and the work that they do. I mean, it's profoundly impactful.
Yeah. And just your overall district, I mean, what challenges face your district right now?
People here need jobs. They need good paying jobs, and we need to rebuild the middle class, which is something that we had previously when people had jobs in mills and in the timber industry. So we need to look at what are the jobs of the future? How do we educate people for the jobs of the future? We have employers that have good jobs that are going unfilled because we aren't filling the pipeline of young people to be trained in those jobs. We also need to create investment like the Coos Bay Port. The Port of Coos Bay, which would be a deep water container port, would create 9,000 jobs in Coos, Douglas, and Lane County. It would be a green energy powered port that would take containers straight to rail. Also, it's 2 days closer to the Far East than California, so allow our farmers to get their goods to market more quickly. And fundamentally, that project would be a game changer for our economy. It would reduce the supply chain congestion on the West Coast by 10 to 12%. But the biggest thing is it will rebuild the middle class and allow people here on the South Coast to be able to go into good paying jobs and have their kids stay here for their future, as opposed to having to leave to get a job in Portland or somewhere else. I mean, our biggest export right now are our kids, because they have to leave to go get jobs, and we'd like them to stay.
Yeah, and going off that, hearing from the Department of Transportation, like Coos Bay wasn't awarded that money. I mean, you're on the infrastructure committee. I mean, what was your reaction to that?
So we applied for a mega grant, which was a large grant for projects that have national significance that wouldn't happen otherwise. There is a private company that is developing the port in conjunction with the state and local governments, and they are very large grants. So the grant request was for $1 billion. We did not get this in the first round. I am very lucky in that the Republican chairperson of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Sam Graves, the company developing this port, North Point, is in his district, so he is as committed and supportive as I am. Maybe not as committed and supportive as I am, but very supportive. We also have Wyden and Merkley. We met with Secretary Buttigieg and Secretary Mitch Landrieu to express our frustration that we weren't given anything. We're pursuing multiple avenues for funding But I will tell you that I spend a lot of time talking about the Coos Bay Port. We had a photo op with the president and vice president, a reception for new members, and I lobbied him on the Coos Bay Port. I said, Mr. President, you expressed support for the Coos Bay Port, and I want to thank you for that, and we really need this investment. And he said, I love that project, the Coos Bay Port. So at every opportunity, I'm talking about this project because it is a game changer. It is a game changer in taking diesel trucks off the road. It is a game changer in helping reduce our supply chain congestion. It's a game changer for the economy of Oregon. And it really means that my community and my home can be very successful, and that's what I'd like to see.
No, that was gonna be my follow-up. I know the president was here back one of his trips last year, April,
right,
talking about the Coos Bay Port.
Right.
So that was my question. What did you ask him if you've reached out to him?
At a photo op, said, sir, thank you for your express support of the Coos Bay Port, and now we would like to see the funding for it. And again, Senator Wyden, Senator Merkley have really gone to the mat, and we're working in the House in a bipartisan way, because this isn't a partisan issue, and it really is of national significance. The Prince Rupert Sound in Canada, they have 70% of their containers are going to the US. We should have that business. We should have it right here in Oregon. And again, getting those containers onto rail, having that green energy powered port would just be tremendous. So we're just gonna work for it. And again, everyone I can talk to, I am talking to, from the president and his administration right on down to every single agency, the Army Corps of Engineers. And I feel very hopeful, because when we really talk to people about the impact of this port nationally, it's exciting. People are very excited. So just because we didn't get money in the first round doesn't mean we won't. So we're going to look towards the second round, and also other avenues of funding that Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley are looking at in some of the Senate bills.
Yeah, and my next question, just the impact of this port for the whole state. People listening in Portland, they think Coos Bay is 5 hours away. How critical would this port be for the economy in the metro area and the whole state as a whole?
So again, it's of national significance. When you have decreased our supply chain congestion from 10 to 12%, that means that our goods will come in more quickly, right? That we will have less shortages of things that we want or need as we're building and manufacturing things. And again, down here in the Willamette Valley, where we grow food for the whole world, we're going to be able to get those goods to market more easily. It takes away some of the congestion with trucks on the road. And the Port of Portland is also a really, really amazing resource. It just does some different things. This would be a deep water container port that is 90 minutes from open ocean to be towed into the port, where it takes almost a full day to come down the Columbia. But there is a place for the Port of Portland, but what this does is it allows us to be more efficient in our supply chain. And also, as we're moving to green energy, as we're taking diesel trucks off the road, as we're decreasing congestion on the road, as we're trucking things up to Seattle or Long Beach, or down to Long Beach, it's mostly up to Seattle, then people are going to see less trucks and less congestion on I-5, and everybody wants to see that.
Yeah, and infrastructure in general has been a topic of conversation throughout the state, at least in the Portland area. There's works on trying to get the bridges earthquake safe as well, get a lot of buildings up there earthquake safe. I just want to hear from you if the infrastructure committee is kind of thinking about this stuff here in the state of Oregon, and what you guys are doing to make things earthquake safe. And we're here at a tsunami research zone as well.
Yes, and we were looking at some of the things they were doing to retrofit existing structures and bridges with titanium and different things that they can do, and they're studying it right here at Oregon State. Whether it's the Columbia River, bridge across the Columbia River that right now is on wooden pilings, we definitely need to fix it, or roads and bridges throughout this state, we are in great need. We should be investing in our infrastructure. We had done that previously, and the bipartisan Infrastructure Act that Peter DeFazio was a lead on as chair of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee is going to be critical, and making sure that those resources come back here. These are federal taxpayer dollars that Oregonians pay, and we should bring them back here to invest and shore up the existing structures, roads and bridges that we have, and also build new ones where possible. Also, so that matters. That should matter to people in Portland and over in John Day. And again, that is one thing I can say, that we as a delegation, both Republicans and Democrats, that we are focused on working together on bringing things back for Oregon.
All right, my final question before we run out of time here. First terms, 2 years. I guess what should your constituents expect from you over the next 2 years?
One of the things that we're focusing on is making sure that our constituent outreach and work fighting for the constituents, whether it's, helping them with their Social Security. I mean, my first bill was to shore up and expand Social Security benefits because so many seniors here rely on that. So helping them with Social Security, on veterans issues, on student loan issues, on housing issues. We want to work with all of our communities, both rural and urban, to make sure that if they need something and someone to work with the federal government for them, we're doing that. I'm also working with our cities and counties on many things, whether it's navigating HUD to make sure that we're investing in and partnering with the state as we can on housing, or again, on natural resource issues, on our ocean health, right? Or, forest land and timber issues, making sure we protect our environment while, allowing people to still work in the woods. Those things are complicated, but the way that I can best serve my community is to get out and talk to people in my community. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm doing here in Corvallis today.